even though I may not fully integrate in those spaces, I still want to keep that as a part of who I am because it makes me me.
Like I tell people, oh, what do you do? I usually just say, oh, I'm a singer. Oh, what kind of music? Here we go.
Because for us, like, we know the math, like, we know the formula, we know the science, because it's just a means of expression for us. So the act of proving it to the world is kind of like what I get a kick out of, you know what I mean? Just because we're just doing us.
And I have had so many people tell me, you would do so much better, your career would be so much better if you sang.
Sure. And, I understand that.
You know, and you're like, well, but I don't want to sing. I don't want to sing. Like, I want to write music and play my violin and compose music. And
your boos mean nothing to me. I've seen what you cheer for.
someone's going to have something to say anyway, so you might as well just do the thing that you want to do.
Right. I got a question for you that I've always wanted to talk to y'all about because I've seen your art, right? We know that in the spaces that we practice in, we're not necessarily, we don't necessarily fit in and we rub up against those cultures, but us also being Black people, people of culture, I've always wondered, did you feel like you didn't fit in with your own people? Because you play violin, because you sing opera, because I play cello and I speak Chinese, and people are like, I don't know Black people that speak Chinese. Like, because that you do, you know, tap dancing and recording art, like, did people just look at y'all be like, yeah, I don't know, you're not, this ain't the culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about it. Because there are other people I know that may feel the same way. And it's an important conversation for us to have.
Mm-hmm.
So, doing opera, it's old, it's Italian, it's very clear. So I'm doing it. First of all, there's always the surprise, like, you're an opera singer? Like, it never fails. Like, I tell people, oh, what do you do? I usually just say, oh, I'm a singer. Oh, what kind of music? Here we go. At first, I used to do the guess. That didn't go well at all because the thing, I was like, oh, that's right, I'm Black. Okay, let's try again. So I tell them opera, and you know, doing opera, there's the perception, it's in the words that they say and the words they choose not to say, the communication that like, this isn't your stuff, this isn't your music, this is not your culture, what are you doing? And so when then you decide to take it and put hip hop to it, which is like a bastardization of this high art, it's even further reinforces that in some people's minds. But at the same time, I get in arguments all the time that it's like, no, this is traditional. Like opera started in the Baroque period. It sounded a certain way, Handel's Messiah, Dido and Aeneas, and then they heard something going on in the streets, something different. It was, oh, that's dope, let's incorporate it in that music. And kept doing that for years, then that's why Mozart sounds completely different from what was going on in the Baroque period. And still, back then, there was some dope stuff going on in the hood. What's that? Let's put that in, incorporate that into the music. Then you had the further evolution of it, and it kept doing that, and it just stopped at some point. So when I get in these conversations about like, oh, this is not your culture, you can't just switch it around and do what you want with it. I was like, I'm more of a traditionalist than you are. I'm sorry. You forgot how to incorporate the tradition. You forgot how to help your art form grow and evolve. You forgot how to like do what Mozart did and what Wagner did and what kept going on. Like you're going backwards. Don't worry, I got you. I'll help.
That's really good.
Yeah, that's deep.
So I'm originally from Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska, which is in and of itself not a lot of Black folks, right?
Of course.
Why are you quiet?
So, in a way, to answer your question, not as much as you might think.
Okay,
just because
sure,
I'm from
right,
Nebraska,
exactly,
right? Like,
literally
didn't say
that,
the other. But I will say, I think social media has been really helpful because I've been able to meet all of these amazing Black string players. I also went to Interlochen, which is this like performing arts festival, and
I always wanted to go.
it was awesome.
Oh my God.
It was awesome, and I met like kind of my first ever other Black string players. I was 14. It was the first time. I remember calling my mom and being like, Mom. She was like, what? It's like, they're other Black kids. And it was just so awesome. And we stayed in we stay in contact. I actually did a show in Detroit and had one of my girlfriends from Interlochen open up for me. She's a cellist, and like, so I think because of the misfit identity and because for so many of us Black people don't always understand the desire to be in classical spaces because it's just not something that's really accessible, I think, for a lot of folks. I've just kind of assembled all these friendships along the way that I'm still very, very, very much very inspired by and so close with. And I think like that sort of helped me to keep going, because I think in a way that's been more painful than not fitting in with white people. You know, I think like that sort of, to be made fun of in high school and like bullied or whatever because you play the violin, and you're like, come on guys, like, can we just all move the needle forward for everybody?
Oh my gosh.
So I think in a way that was kind of more of a heartache. Also, I am half white, and my dad's from Guyana, which is in South America, so it's like, also not being American Black was also, you know, eating different foods and like, also not listening to hip hop growing up and listening to, you know, reggae and like the music of my dad's culture and stuff. So I think there are a lot of things that have kind of made it feel like I didn't fit in with anyone except other immigrant kids.
That's oh my gosh, that's literally the other thing I want to talk to y'all about. Because like, I feel like, I remember growing up and realizing, wait, I'm not African enough for African people because my dad's from Nigeria. I'm not Grenadian enough for Grenadian people. I'm not even Caribbean enough. I'm not Black enough for Black America. And so I go, where do I fit in if I can't even fit into this space? And then I'm in these academic classes with my, you know, my white friends, and they're like, but there are no Black students in these academic classes. I'm like, so now where am I supposed to be? Like, that's why I feel like the misfit journey is so hard, because in so many ways, I'm like, I don't fit in anywhere where I can fully integrate into any space.
Right.
So that's why I felt like I don't know, misunderstood so much. And the cultural identity, I think that made it even tougher in certain ways. But I think that's also like, as I've grown up and I see the strength and power of the beauty of our culture, and I'm like, I want to, even though I may not fully integrate in those spaces, I still want to keep that as a part of who I am because it makes me me. Like the Venn diagrams, every single circle, all those things amalgamate into this identity for me. And if I live out my life the way I know I'm supposed to, I hope there's another Black student that also goes, wait, they're weird like me. There's certain parts of culture they may not understand, but there's some parts of culture they do. Wait, and that's okay? I remember, last thing I'll say, I remember, my major was in East Asian Studies in college, and I remember there were there were African students who were in China studying, and it pains me to say this because it was such a hurtful comment to me. I had my friends come through from Africa, they're hanging out, and that's what they know. They know China. And some of my friends being like, man, they're not Black enough, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, but their context is China. That's what they know. That's where they live. That's the cultural communication that they have. So we have to let each person be them in their misfitdom in that way, because that helps the whole diaspora move forward. You know what I mean? And so that's why I think culture has to be a part of your misfit identity in certain ways, or you figure out how to reconcile that in a way that feels good to you. Man,
I'm fortunate enough in the sense that tap dance is incredibly Black derived, right? It's it comes from, you know, jazz music, and it comes from the oppression of Black people finding a language through their feet when all else was stripped away, right? So that was the means of communication and the language of the art form in its early sense, but over time, as that kind of became classified and categorized into the mockery of Black people through minstrel shows and through, you know, any type of show that pretty much exploited Black culture through blackface and all. It's a whole history of things. That tap dance was then embedded in that, and then therefore it got that rep as well. So then even when you see a Black man tap dancing, it's like people can assume the shucking and jive tap dancing and not give a Black man its worth for the debonair and sophistication that art form actually is, right? So it's multiple battles within one, and then on top of that, with tap dance within itself, just to convince people like, no, you should respect this art form. There are incredible people in the lineage that are really passionate and have overcome a lot of life's challenges through this art form. Then I take that art form that's jazz and I put it in hip hop music. So now I have the hip hop community like looking at me like, what are you doing, bro? And it's so funny because like before I do a show, they'll be like, oh yeah, you do like hip hop? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, you do R&B, soul? Yeah, you do tap dance? Yeah. And then they're like, look at me like this. And everyone gives me that look until they see the show. And then they're like, oh, I get it. It does work, right? But you would know it works if you knew that the history of tap dance is responsible in large part for the history of hip hop as well. Music development, bebop, jazz, everything kind of developed and grew into the music you know today. So in my head, I'm like, of course tap dance is gonna go with that. Like, tap dance is the coolest thing ever, you know what I mean? So having to break that way of thinking as well, even amongst artists as well as people who just consume music. But that's like part of the fun in it, you know what I mean? Because for us, like, we know the math, like we know the formula, we know the science, because it's just a means of expression for us. So the act of proving it to the world is kind of like what I get a kick out of, you know what I mean? Just because we're just doing us.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Because we describe jazz as America's classical music. Do you find with you trying to do hip hop that you're also breaking rules of your classical music form? That, like, you know, you're like, if the jazz heads knew that I was doing this, they'd have something to say.
Yeah, 100%. Even with little things like holding the microphone, right? It's very common in hip hop to hold it by, you know, the snowball part of the microphone. But when I'm singing jazz, you know, Carmen Bradford is telling me over here, like, Leo, hold the mic like this. And I listen to her because that's what I need to do on those gigs. But it's like, there's like a time and a place. And then you get to like choose, okay, what it is I want to represent. Even little things like, I don't like wearing tuxedos and like full suits anymore when I tap dance. Not because I don't love rocking that, like that's cool, but I much prefer like wearing like what I want to wear with the, you know, sweat towel and like, you know what I'm saying, like maybe even some kicks on, you know what I'm saying, and tap dance like that because that's my specific voice in it, you know. But I actually do a show where I perform with Byron Stripling and Carmen Bradford, and that's on the orchestra, Pop's orchestra circuit. So I'm doing those shows in addition to everything I'm doing with hip hop. And it's just funny because I feel, you know, it's like you shape shift like back and forth. But that's kind of what creates like your own unique art form, I guess.
That's so dope, man.
Yeah.
Like with that, once you started like putting the voice to tap dance, like I think about me putting a vocal to classical music, and I tell you right now, people are like, you can't do, not a pop vocal. That's not cool, that's not what we do. I'm curious, like when you started putting a vocal to tap dancing, did the tap community go, no, that's not so, that juxtaposition is not allowed. You need to stop right now.
That's a good question. Well, there's two battles with that because a part of the early me was like, oh yeah, people don't like my singing with tap dance because they don't get it. But then also looking back on those videos, I'm like, I had a lot of work to do on my vocals. I just needed to like get better at singing.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? And then once I found the unique like, okay, this is, the singing is a craft that I'm working on separately that has nothing to do with tap dance. Tap dance is a craft that has nothing to do with singing. And once I prioritized those two things independently, that mergence became natural. It no longer became forced. And then I noticed for me that once that natural mergence happened of the two art forms, then it started to make sense to people.
I feel that.
It took some time though, because
I mean, we're artists, we grow. That's one thing I'm enjoying being out of the classical space, just that process of like letting myself figure out how I artist into like a full-grown artist with my art.
Right, of course, 100%.
To your point about singing, it's interesting because I don't sing, and I have had so many people tell me, you would do so much better, your career would be so much better if you sang.
Sure.
And,
I understand that.
You know, and you're like, well, but I don't want to sing. I don't want to sing. Like, I want to write music and play my violin and compose music. And so it's kind of interesting. It's like, you know, it sounds like you've been sort of told, oh, you can't sing and play cello. But 100%. Then on the other side, it's like, oh, if you sang, and I've had like record execs, if you sang and played violin, that would be more marketable. And so you're like, well, it's just really interesting. It feels like you can't really win. So you just have to be yourself. Right? Like,
just be okay with
someone's gonna have something to say anyway, so you might as well just do the thing that you want to do.
Right. But then like, how do you guys build that exterior to deal with that? Like, you know, we all get comments online, right? As a misfit, like we stand unapologetically, but like, I'm not gonna pretend like I see a comment and like, that doesn't ding me a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm not gonna pretend like I'm, you know, insusceptible to that. I am. So like, how have y'all built that shell, that like hard exterior to say like, nah, I'm good. That's not gonna affect me.
I shifted perspectives on, or I've slowly learned whose opinion actually matters. There's a quote that I heard from a great doctor. He said, your boos mean nothing to me. I've seen what you cheer for.
Who said that?
Yeah.
Rick Sanchez. He's a scientist. Don't worry about it. No,
that's dope.
That is dope.
I like that quote.
It rocked me because, you know, I'm doing opera for years. I invite friends and family to come see the show, and afterwards, it was nice, it was really great, and they leave, and I'm doing another show, they don't try and come. They don't try, or they don't ask for tickets to, oh, I want to bring my friend to come back, and I was like, they don't really like this. You know, when, because the closest thing to what I've seen out there is like Hamilton. When Hamilton came out, I saw what it looked like to want to go see those you know, like
the demand.
The actual demand. Like I'm an opera singer, most of my friends are opera singers. We don't go see operas. Unless there's a big star or a friend that we're supporting, we don't go. Like we'll come up with like often excuses. We have a full free schedule, pockets full of money, we're not going. But we will call in to our opera gig to pay full price for tickets to go to Hamilton.